Bastards. This is part 2 of the nuclear disaster series, and today we're going to talk about evacuation during a nuclear disaster. So, I'm just got off work and I'm done with working. So it's a good exercise to do, to imagine when you're driving towards work, you get from work or you're riding somewhere else. It could happen that you hear on the radio in the car that a nuclear disaster has happened. So, what are the first steps to take? Well, first of all, information is very important. Don't, when you hear the words nuclear disaster, do not just directly do like everything automatically without knowing more. Perhaps it's in an other place. Perhaps it's been an exaggeration. You need more info. But for let's say that it does happen. You hear on the radio that there is I would say in this case, let's say that the nuclear power plant Doel in Antwerp has a meltdown. Yeah, that would be a serious problem because I live close by. So you hear it on the radio. First of all, check where the nuclear disaster has happened, because I researched this before. So knowledge is power. Like I said, I researched where the certain things are, but some people will not know. So I would advise for most people to keep a paper map inside of their car or use their cell phone to look up, this place has a nuclear meltdown or a nuclear accident, like a derailing or a truck that fell on, I don't know, something like that happened perhaps. Know where it is and how close by it is. Yeah, that way you can search up on, my position, and if this is your position and the disaster happened in any direction, you can calculate if you're in danger for a fallout. If the wind from that location is blowing towards yourself, that could face a real problem. So the first thing what you do next is close everything in your car. Close the windows, close the tops, close the air conditioning, and everything that can bring air from outside to in. If there is fallout dragged on by the wind or in the atmosphere, that way you have less chance to get particles inside of the car where they remain and do some bodily harm to you. Next thing is try to reorganize. What do I mean by that? If you have a partner or children, normally you would I would advise to always have a plan ready for when there is a disaster. It doesn't even have to be a nuclear disaster. Any disaster, who's going to pick up the kids? Where do we meet? Do we meet at home or to a nearby location or the bug out location directly if it's worse, if the disaster is worse enough? So that's something to keep in calculation, especially when you when you have to commute a long way. Because let's say if I had kids and they are going to school in a city close by, I can assure you, during a nuclear disaster, everyone will try to get out of the city, and other people will do everything to get inside of the city, to get their children or loved ones, to get them out of there. And that will cause a huge traffic jam. So that could be a very big problem. So try to, first of all, communicate with a cell phone to your partner. Try to reach your kids or persons who are perhaps involved with, who take care of your children at the places that you probably will not be able to reach. Tell them to go to a certain location a little bit outside of the city. Perhaps they can make it to a rendezvous point, to say. and there you can pick them up and drive faster away instead of going through the traffic jams and through the perhaps chaotic situation in larger cities. So that's a way to try to deal with this. Yeah. Next thing is trying to get home. Like I said, there is a chance that you won't be able to get home with your car, because, like I said, traffic jams, especially when you have to commute on highways and such, that could be problematic. You could be exposed longer to fallout that perhaps gets sprayed from the atmosphere or falling down or get dragged by the wind. So you don't want to be in a traffic jam for 5 hours for that. I don't exaggerate, because even when there is just one small accident on the highway, usually in Belgium, that means a few hours of traffic jam. So imagine when everybody tries to leave at the same time, at the same moment, in chaos, stress, panic, or perhaps that could be a big disaster, like I said before. All right, so you're now stuck wherever you are at work, during your bug out. This is a perfect bug out situation, by the way. I would advise to park your car somewhere where it will not get in the way of other people or get stolen. Um, if you have to move on by foot, I would advise to either always have your EDC bag with you, or you have your bolt bag inside the back of your car in the trunk. If you want to get an idea of what the bolt bag is from an EDC kit for in a car, I made a video about this, so look it up. I would say, I would suggest, if you have to travel home by foot, because yet again public transport will be very packed, to say, because or even not running because of the danger of the fallout on the path of the public transport. If you have to move through by foot, I would just try to cover up as much as you can to keep particles off yourself. If it's possible, I always have my NBC suit inside of my car, and but not a lot of people have those. So, second, I need to do something. Yeah, sorry for that. Where was I? Oh yeah, the EDC car kit. Not everyone has a CBRN kit inside of their vehicle, but if you, I would always advise to put at least a gas mask of military grade with CBRN protection inside of your car, in your trunk, just to protect your breathing, and at least keep that, because otherwise you are forced to just use something as crude as a shamak, try to fold it as much as possible and bind it around your head. That's not ideal, but in the worst case scenario, it's better than nothing, actually. So you have your gas mask, at least, I would say, if you don't have a CBRN. I would suggest also to, if you have a rain poncho, pull it all over your body and try to make the cap around your face and your gas mask as tight as possible, so none of the particles, radioactive particles that come from the fallout, will get onto you and get inside of your clothing, in your breathing, as much as possible. So that way you can perhaps reach your home safely. If you don't have a rain poncho with you, just use as much clothing or reserve clothing, or just as much cloth. Even a simple shamak over you can reduce the amount of particles that will get at place on your body. You can take your bug out, perhaps keep a bug out bag in your car for if you have to do a long trip, and try to stay out of the wind as much as possible if you can. And if you travel, try to make the path so that you are, like I said, not directly in the wind where the disaster is. Try if the disaster, when it blows away towards the disaster, that's not a problem. But if it comes from the disaster towards you, that could face a problem. Yeah. So that is what I would suggest to do in such situation. Next thing is especially during rainy situations, because this is something that especially happens after a nuclear detonation, but it can also happen during a nuclear meltdown, where a lot of debris from the explosion, like it happened in Chernobyl, a lot of smoke from the melting reactor was blasted into the air, and the nuclear particles traveled with the smoke bind with the rain, and the rain fell. So you got radioactive rain. That's why the rain poncho would be very handy in that sort of case. Yeah, normally the gas mask would protect you as if it's graded good, if the filter is still okay, as much as possibly can for the time being. But the thing is, you have to get home, or you have to get to the evacuation point. That's another thing I probably forgot with the radio. Try to listen to what to do. Like, are there evacuation points? How bad is the situation? Can you go home? Should you go home? That's all something you cannot directly plan. You can plan it, but it's something you have to see in the moment. You have to use your intuition, your rationality, and what you know at the moment. So that's the take about evacuation during a nuclear disaster. To do a little test, I shall how do you say this? I shall show you how a bug out EDC kit for nuclear disaster would look like try to get home in the most safe way as possible at the moment. Because don't forget, like I said, not everyone has an NBC kit in their car. I will do it like what most people would have in their car to show it, except with the gas mask, just to show it. And by the power of editing, you will now see the EDC kit I would use to get home. Alright, the bug out situation from the car, from work, or whatever. We're going to do this in two parts. The first part is just my EDC bag. When I need to evacuate to a home or an evacuation point in a nuclear disaster, I shall first show you what I would do if I only had my EDC bag. You know what's inside of it because of previous videos. And these are the stuff that lay inside of the trunk of my car. This is my EDC for my car. So first of all, if I only have my EDC and nothing else, how would I take care of a nuclear situation? First of all, Shamak will be very helpful. And the second thing I would take is the rain poncho, which is just a small plastic bag. I shall close this one off. So, what is the first thing you do? First of all, listen to information, like I said before. Listen to the news. Everyone normally has a radio sitting on their cell phone. Try to get information about what the severity, this safe routes, where are traffic stops, this and that. So information is the first part of your EDC. Second part, you don't want to get particles that might get dragged by the wind or fall out. So try to close everything you can with just your clothing. So try to cover as much skin with as much thick layers as you can. In this case, I wear my sweater and my jacket. Try to close everything as much as possible. It can become hot, especially when it would happen in the summer, but that's also handy. I perhaps have to tell you, when you need to protect yourself, that's why it's always handy to keep a metal flask, so if there are particles, this will not get that many contamination, and you can use it for when you dry out, because you have to cover yourself that much in. So be careful about that. Yeah, try to get as much hoods. These two jackets have two hoods, so I'm gonna put two hoods on. And yet again, like I said, try to close as much off as you possibly can. Probably first, better put first a shemak on in as many layers as you can. These are 3 layers. Oh, another point. If you don't have a hoodie, you can protect your head by turning it into a shemak. Fold it in a triangle, put it the short side around your head, this side under your chin, the next one over your head, and just bind them with those two ends together. And that way you have some sort of more head protection against particles that can burn your skin and such. So, but now we're going to do it. First, we're gonna use it because I have hoodies, so I can use these to protect my inhalement as much as possible. Particles will get inside of your lungs, but it's better protection than no protection, and if you cannot find cover. So tie that up. Put the hoods on. There you go. And now you can take the rain poncho. This is a throwaway poncho, so open it. It can take a while to open it. As you can see, typically I have it backwards now. You can put it over your EDC bag, and now you have even more protection against particles, so it doesn't get inside of your jacket. So I know it doesn't look sexy or cool something, but this will provide minimal protection when you go home on foot or to an evacuation point during a nuclear disaster. Alright, so this was for the EDC, and when you get home you just throw away this outside in a safe place for disposal, and so you don't take as much nuclear particles inside of your house. That's why I also would advise to, when you get home, try to dispose of the outer clothing that you wore during the fallout when you were outside. So be careful about that. Yep. Alright, that was the EDC protection. Now we're gonna take a look about the protection from the car. Usually in my car I have my CBRN suit and a gas mask inside of this. But let's say today I only had, as a normal person, you would, at least if you're a little bit prepared, just a gas mask or a half face mask protection, one of those. Some working gloves, my bug-out bag that I leave in my car, which also contains a rain poncho. And when you don't have a rain poncho, just the woolen blanket. So we're gonna take a look. Open this one up. So inside of this, I have my gas mask. I will not take out my suit, but I will take the glove. You can also put some gloves in. Even latex gloves can protect against dust particles that are contaminated. So, but today, well, let's say we only have this one, because most people would only be able to find or buy this one and put it in the outside of the car. I will better put this as last as perhaps. Well, we'll see if you can perhaps hear me. I will put this on last. The next thing is the bug-out bag. You don't know how long it would take to get to your bug-out location or to your home, so just carry the bug-out bag across you, just so you have some water, some food if you have to held up. Perhaps you have to take refuge against the fallout in a public building or shelter, or to a person you know who lives more close by. So, yeah, I'm gonna put. You will perhaps not hear me that well, so I'm gonna put it up. Always test the mask by putting your hands on the side, and if you can feel the suction around here, I mean if you suck and the mask does not let air in around this, then it's airtight and you can use it good. Make sure it fits on your face, that it doesn't fall off. Alright, so now we look more like a stalker from the game. If you can, just try to wear gloves. If you don't have rubber gloves, use something, at least something like work gloves or something. Again, try to put this inside of the jacket. With this it's a little bit hard. But you know the gist. Just tuck it inside of the coat, so it doesn't get into your hands, so you don't get radiation burnings. Yeah, it's kind of difficult with the working gloves, but you get the idea. And then you're more protected against particles. Yet again, if you come home, discard of every outer layer that might have been contaminated. Alright. Like you perhaps can see or hear, it's very difficult to breathe. So getting home by foot will be a very exhausting. Will be very exhausting. So be aware of that. You will not breathe easily, and every step you take will be twice as hard. So, just a rain poncho. This one is from smaller plastic. And you go. Try to try to close the sideways, so particles doesn't get to the sides. But this way you are more protected against falling contaminated particles. So I'm gonna take this off. Alright, if you don't have a rain poncho, use anything. If you have drapes in your car,
if you have a blanket, like here, the trusty old woolen blanket will be sacrificed. Even this little thing. Even this will protect you, at least the outer layer, at least for minimal protection during a bug out in a nuclear disaster. I will take the mask off because, like you can see, it's very hard to talk through it. Alright, so these are the examples. I hope you hear it, you have heard all of that. For getting home during a nuclear disaster, as much exposure is the thing you have to try to minimize. Like I said over and over again, it's the most important. Protect your breathing, even if it's a piece of cloth. Any dust particles that is withheld is a less chance that you get radioactive sickness or burns. Alright, that's about it for this video. You just like I said, you picked up the kids or your partner, you got home, and now you have the tools, like in the first part of this series, the home preparedness part. This is the evacuation part. In the next part, I will tell active measurements you can do during the effective bug-in during a nuclear disaster. So that will be part 3. After that, it's probably about CBRN, and then we are going to talk about fallout shelters and nuclear warfare. This is just for a nuclear accident. So I hope you learned something from this video. You got some ideas. If I forgot something and that I didn't know about or something, leave it in the comments. I want to learn too, because believe it or not, I never been in a nuclear accident. So thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and all that good stuff. So thank you. See you in the next video.